My mommy and Jeffrey are having a fight.
Oh, is he hitting her?
I'm talking to the police, Mommy. Stop it! Stop it! Baby! Stop it! Could you just send the police, please?
Okay, we're going to be there. What's going on?
They're having a fight because this has been going on forever and ever.
How's he hurting her?
He made some red marks on Mom.
What did he make the red marks on?
Her neck. Oh my God!
What's the matter? Is your Hello?
The mission of Domestic Violence Solutions is to save lives of the women and children fleeing violence.
At DVS, we serve women and children that are victims of domestic violence. They typically live below the poverty level and find themselves homeless after leaving abusive and violent relationships.
When I was 10 years old, my mom remarried, and the abuse started to happen probably about a year into the marriage.
At the beginning, he was charming and loving and caring till I was under his thumb at home.
It was very subtle in the beginning. It was a lot of control issues. It was a lot of jealousy issues.
People have the idea that abuse is just physical, and it never starts out with physical abuse. It starts out with emotional abuse and the isolation, the manipulation, the humiliation.
When I became pregnant with my son, I thought that having a child it will make things better for us, and it got worse. He controlled me financially where I couldn't go anywhere. I was just trapped at home. I learned English from TV, basically just from sitting at home. Did not have a car, did not know how to drive, basically. Did not have money, did not know where to go or what to do with a child.
He came to the place where I was living, broke into the house, got me into the bedroom, and I went to go grab for my gun in the closet, and he grabbed it out of my hand and got me on the bed and straddled me with his legs holding my arms down and had my loaded gun in my mouth.
Children arriving at DVS are often experiencing trauma, either through witnessing or being a victim of domestic violence in their home. Children's brains are hotwired to expect violence, which makes it difficult for them to do well in school and in social settings.
My son was my motivation to leave because the last incident happened between me and my ex was my son was watching his mommy being beaten up.
I tried very hard to keep my children away from the physical violence of it. That was always kept behind closed doors, the physical portion of it. The verbal and the emotional abuse, of course, was out in the open all the time. He woke up in a jealous rage, had a bad dream, followed me through the kitchen. I went to go make some coffee, and on the way through, he stopped where the fireplace was, picked up the fireplace shovel, and followed me into the kitchen and started to beat me across the back with a fireplace shovel. My middle daughter, the 8-year-old, heard the commotion and came in the kitchen and saw her dad hit me. None of my kids had ever seen him hit me before.
I finally realized there was physical violence going on in the household when I actually saw it one time. There was an alarm clock next to my mother's bed, and we were in her bedroom, and my stepfather threw the alarm clock, and it had hit the glass mirror, and it shattered. I was really scared for the condition that my mom was in because I was so used to her being the bubbly, go-getting, doing her business, and then it seemed like overnight, she was in the room, just couldn't get out of bed.
I didn't have me anymore. And that was a breakthrough for me. That was a really big breakthrough for me to realize that I I was a whole person and I didn't have to be run and ruled and emotionally and physically battered by anybody.
The first time I found out about domestic violence solution was through my neighbor. My neighbor saw that, I'm being abused because she saw a black eye on me one time. I told her that I had bruises all over my body, and at that point I had to tell someone because I couldn't take it anymore. I met a case manager at Starbucks, and they took me under their wings.
Domestic violence solutions came into our life because my mother, one day, she just finally said, this is it. She went into the Yellow Pages and she found, the shelter, and she called them that day, and that same exact day is when we got up and left.
The first night in the shelter was probably the very first night that I slept throughout the entire evening. Just knowing that there was somebody else there that could protect me. When I finally entered the shelter, I found that the women that were in there with me were just like me. I had never met anybody who had been through what I went through. And we came from such different backgrounds, but we all had the same experience, and it was amazing. We held each other up. When one person would get weak and say, oh, I miss him, the rest of us would remind her, wait, what did he do to you? And we were a support system that I never dreamt of.
When I was at DVS, my goal was to succeed. So I worked hard on taking advantage of a lot of resources that they provided for us, especially with my case manager. She worked so hard with me on making plan, daily plan, weekly plan, even for future plan.
Another part of our mission is to change societal attitudes and beliefs about domestic violence.
I used to feel it's my fault. Maybe if I'm better, if I communicate with him in a better way, he'll be, treating me in a better way. I felt like my fault.
Many people look at domestic violence as a woman's issue. And we need to change that dialogue, because it is not just a woman's issue. It's a man's issue. It's a community issue. It's an economic issue. We have to change the dialogue. We often are asked, why doesn't she just leave? Why aren't we asking, why is he doing that? Why is he beating her?
Society inadvertently puts the responsibility and the blame on the victim.
People just need to be educated and be willing to say, I know how you can get help. Here's a phone number.
Santa Barbara County is extremely fortunate to have domestic violence solutions as a place for women and children who are fleeing violence to go.
Domestic violence solutions makes what at the time appears to be impossible, possible. And it takes families from a position of feeling that they can't survive to they actually can thrive and move on and move up.
At DVS, it is our privilege to facilitate the healing process for the women and children we serve.
We can't do this without your support. Please be part of the solution.
I'm proud of myself and proud of my accomplishment. I did it. If I can do it, you can do it.